In the tidy cul-de-sac of Sunset Meadows, where picket fences lined homes like silent sentinels, Jake Ellison had found solace in his golden retriever, Max, after a grueling year of job loss and divorce. Jake, a freelance graphic designer in his mid-30s with tousled hair and a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, had adopted Max from a shelter 2 years prior, the dog's wagging tail and soulful brown eyes becoming the anchor in his unraveling world. Max, with his fluffy coat gleaming like spun gold in the morning sun, bounded through the backyard with boundless energy, chasing tennis balls and napping in sunbeams that filtered through the chain-link fence. The duo's routine, morning walks around the block, afternoon fetch sessions, brought a rhythm of joy to Jake's days. Max's playful barks a soundtrack that drowned out the echoes of loneliness in their modest ranch-style home. Neighbors waved from porches, some chuckling at Max's enthusiastic greetings, the dog a furry ambassador of warmth in the suburbs' polished routine. The harmony fractured on a humid August afternoon when Karen Langley, the HOA busybody with her perfectly coiffed bob and a notebook always at the ready, cornered Jake during Max's walk. Karen, a part-time accountant whose own yard boasted immaculate astroturf and no signs of life, viewed the golden retriever as a four-legged nuisance from the start. His barks too loud, his shedding fur an invasion onto her driveway. She thrust the first complaint form at Jake, citing excessive noise disturbance under HOA noise ordinances, her eyes narrowing with the fervor of a self-appointed enforcer, rooted in her unshakable belief that order trumped all. Jake's stomach twisted with irritation, the paper crumpling slightly in his grip as he led Max home, the dog's oblivious tail thumping against his leg, a stark contrast to the knot of frustration tightening in his chest. That evening, as Max curled up on the couch, Jake vented to his sister over a video call, her empathetic nods fueling a quiet resolve to brush it off as a one-off, unaware of the avalanche to come. But the complaints multiplied like weeds in spring, arriving weekly via certified mail or slipped under the door. Number 2 for unsanitary waste not picked up promptly, though Jake was meticulous with bags and bins. Number 3 alleging Max's aggressive posturing during a harmless fence sniff. Each one chipped away at Jake's peace, his evenings now spent poring over the forms under the kitchen light, the stack growing to a dozen by month's end, fines totaling $200 that strained his freelance income. Max sensed the shift, his playful energy dimming as Jake's walks shortened, the dog's head tilting with confusion at his owner's tense shoulders, tugging at Jake's heart with every concerned whine. Karen's surveillance escalated, her curtains twitching whenever Max appeared, her reports to the HOA board detailed with timestamps and blurry photos that twisted innocent moments into violations. Whispers from other neighbors reached Jake at the community mailbox, tales of her targeting a family's cat for littering or fining a kid's lemonade stand, painting her as the suburb's unofficial sheriff, her control a balm for her own rigid existence. Desperation crept in during the third week, Jake's sleep fractured by replays of confrontations, Max's comforting nuzzles the only solace in the quiet hours. He began documenting instinctively, snapping photos of clean yards and time-stamped walk logs on his phone, the act a small rebellion that steadied his shaking hands. A sympathetic neighbor, Mrs. Ruiz from across the street, stopped by with homemade tamales, her eyes twinkling with shared disdain for Karen's reign, sharing stories of overlooked infractions in her own yard that fueled Jake's growing indignation. Yet, as complaint number 15 arrived, accusing Max of property damage from a single paw print on the shared fence, Jake's anger boiled over, tears of frustration stinging his eyes as he hugged Max close, the dog's warm fur a reminder of the pure joy under attack. Sleepless, he researched online forums late into the night, discovering tales of similar harassments turning viral, a spark igniting in his mind. What if he turned the tables with proof? The complaints hit 20 by early September, Karen's persistence a relentless drumbeat that isolated Jake further, his once friendly waves met with averted eyes from fearful residents. Max's spirit flagged, his barks rarer, mirroring Jake's weary soul. But in that shared vulnerability, a bond deepened, stealing Jake's resolve. He invested in a small camera for the backyard, capturing footage of Max's gentle romps, the evidence a growing archive of truth against fabrication. Karen's next move loomed, a board hearing scheduled to review the escalating file, pushing Jake toward a confrontation that would test his patience like never before. As autumn leaves began to fall, Jake compiled his first binder of counter-evidence under the glow of his desk lamp, the weight of impending exposure settling like a gathering storm, ready to unleash a howl that would echo beyond Sunset Meadows. The board hearing approached like a gathering fog in Sunset Meadows, blanketing Jake Ellison's home in a haze of anticipation and dread, the stack of 25 complaints now a towering monument to Karen Langley's unyielding campaign. Jake's days blurred into a meticulous routine of documentation, his phone's camera clicking relentlessly during Max's every outing. The golden retriever's joyful leaps captured in high definition, timestamps proving walks stayed under the noise curfew, waste bags disposed with clockwork precision. Each entry in his growing digital log felt like armor plating, but the emotional grind wore on him. Nights spent editing footage under the harsh glow of his laptop. Max's soft snores from the floor, a poignant reminder of the innocence under siege. Karen's escalation intensified, her complaints evolving from petty noise logs to fabricated claims of health hazards, like alleging Max's fur-triggered allergies in her non-existent grandchildren, each form arriving with her scrawled notes that dripped with accusation, her surveillance a constant shadow that made Jake's skin crawl. By mid-September, the harassment seeped into Jake's professional life, freelance deadlines slipping as he fielded HOA notices during client calls. His voice strained with forced calm while Max paced anxiously nearby, sensing the tension like a barometer for unrest. The fines climbed to $450, dipping into his emergency fund, but it was Liam, no Max's, the dog's fading spark that cut deepest. The once vibrant retriever now hesitated at the door, his tail wagged subdued, eyes searching Jake's face for reassurance, tugging at the owner's heart with waves of guilt and rage. Mrs. Ruiz became a quiet ally, slipping over with coffee and tips on hidden cameras, her own stories of Karen's past vendettas, finding a widow for unkempt hedges during illness. Fueling Jake's resolve, though isolation gnawed, other neighbors crossing streets to avoid association with the dog drama. Karen's patrols turned theatrical, her car idling for hours, binoculars glinting as she noted Max's every bark, her internal narrative framing the pet as a personal affront to her pristine domain, a disruption she couldn't tolerate. The hearing convened in the community center's stuffy multipurpose room, folding chairs arranged in rows under fluorescent lights that buzzed like accusatory insects. Jake arrived early, binder in hand brimming with printed logs, video stills, and witness statements from Mrs. Ruiz, his palms slick with nerves as the room filled with a mix of curious residents and Karen's sycophants. Karen took the podium first, her voice steady but laced with feigned concern as she presented the dossier. 37 complaints by now, complete with charts graphing disturbance peaks that twisted Max's playtime into patterns of menace, her eyes locking on Jake with a flicker of vindictive satisfaction. The board, a panel of retirees and locals cowed by her influence, nodded along, one member adjusting glasses to scrutinize blurry photos of paw prints magnified to monstrous proportions. Jake's chest tightened with a surge of indignation, the air thick with the scent of stale donuts and unspoken biases. Max waiting at home in quiet confinement, his absence a hollow ache. When Jake's turn came, he laid out his evidence methodically, his voice gaining strength as he synced videos to the projector. Clips of Max's gentle demeanor, neighbors waving without complaint, logs debunking each allegation with irrefutable timelines. Emotions crested as he described the toll, his words painting Max not as a nuisance but a companion through heartbreak. The dog's loyalty a balm now poisoned by harassment, tears pricking his eyes at the thought of the retriever's bewildered whines during shortened walks. Murmurs stirred in the crowd, Mrs. Ruiz nodding vigorously from the back, a few attendees shifting uncomfortably as the fabrications unraveled, Karen's charts paling against Jake's raw truth. The board deliberated in hushed tones, emerging with a tepid compromise. Complaints under review, fines paused pending further investigation, but no retraction. A half-victory that left Jake seething, the delay a temporary reprieve laced with poison. That night, as rain pattered against the windows, Jake reviewed the hearing footage he'd secretly recorded, the playback a cathartic reliving of the standoff, Max nuzzling his leg with renewed affection, the dog's warmth easing the knot of frustration. Online forums beckoned stronger now, Anonymous posts about the hearing garnering sympathy comments. A seed of viral potential sprouting in Jake's mind. Karen, undeterred, fired off an email to the board decrying bias. Her isolation growing as even allies whispered doubts. Jake expanded his archive, installing a second camera to capture her driveway stakeouts. The evidence piling like autumn leaves, each frame a step toward exposure. Yet, as the investigation dragged into October, Karen's next salvo arrived. A petition for Max's removal, pushing Jake to accelerate his counteroffensive. The digital storm brewing just beyond the horizon. The petition for Max's removal slithered through Sunset Meadows like a shadow at dusk, Karen Langley's signatures collecting on clipboards passed door to door, each one a dagger aimed at Jake Ellison's fragile peace. Jake's mornings now began with a ritual of review, his coffee cooling untouched as he scrolled through the expanding archive on his laptop. Hours of footage timestamped and tagged. Max's joyful bounds juxtaposed against Karen's lurking car, her binoculars catching the light like accusatory eyes. The evidence binder swelled to bursting, pages filled with maps plotting her complaint timelines against Max's routines, revealing patterns of exaggeration that bordered on obsession. Jake's hands steadying with each annotation, though his heart ached with the weariness of constant vigilance. Max, sensing the undercurrent, pressed closer during editing sessions, his golden head on Jake's knee, whine soft and questioning, a reminder of the pure companionship now entangled in bureaucratic thorns, deepening Jake's resolve amid the emotional fog. October's chill deepened the neighborhood's divide, Mrs. Ruiz emerging as a steadfast confidant, sharing her own hidden recordings of Karen's selective patrols, finding a neighbor's loud barbecue but ignoring her allies' fireworks. Her visits a warm interlude of tamales and strategy, eyes sparkling with the thrill of potential justice. Jake's freelance work suffered further, client emails going unanswered as he cross-referenced complaints with weather reports, proving noise allegations false on windy days when barks carried farther. The meticulousness a double-edged sword that isolated him further. Evenings spent alone with Max's snores filling the silence. Karen's escalation peaked with anonymous notes left on his windshield, "Control your beast or else." Her handwriting disguised but unmistakable, sending chills down Jake's spine. A mix of fear and fury bubbling as he added them to the file, the harassment's personal edge sharpening his determination like a whetstone. The HOA's investigation dragged like molasses. A subcommittee meeting in the community center where Jake presented supplemental evidence, his voice laced with restrained passion as he played clips of Max's calm demeanor. Neighbors' testimonials scrolling on screen. Karen countered with a binder of her own, affidavits from reluctant signatories coerced by her influence. Her posture rigid with feigned outrage, eyes flashing defiance that masked the first cracks of unease as Jake's logs dismantled her claims point by point. The room tensed with shifting allegiances, a retiree questioning her motives aloud, murmurs rippling as the subcommittee chair, a neutral accountant, called for an independent review, the partial when leaving Jake's chest tight with cautious hope mingled with exhaustion. Back home, Max greeted him with a tentative tail wag, the dog's renewed energy a bomb. But Jake's sleep evaded him, dreams haunted by Karen's glare, waking to compile more audio logs of her car idling, proving stakeouts violated privacy norms. Online momentum stirred subtly, Jake's anonymous forum posts about the hearing evolving into a dedicated thread. Users sharing similar Karen stories, likes and shares climbing as he teased redacted evidence. The digital echo chamber amplifying his isolation into a chorus of virtual support. Donations trickled via a hastily set tip jar for legal fees, strangers' notes of encouragement warming Jake's weary soul during late-night scrolls. Mrs. Ruiz cheering the buzz over fence chats. Yet, Karen struck back with a smear campaign, community emails painting Jake as uncooperative, her allies circulating petitions that divided the cul-de-sac, fearful glances from once friendly faces stinging like salt in wounds. Jake countered by reaching out to a local blogger, sharing sanitized clips that hinted at the archive's depth, the post garnering local traction, hearts pounding with the risk of escalation. Emotions crested one rainy afternoon when complaint 38 arrived, falsely claiming Max bit a passerby. Jake's tears falling as he reviewed footage showing no such incident. Max's gentle nudge to a child instead. The fabrication a breaking point that solidified his path to exposure. With the independent review looming, he polished the full dossier, videos edited into a narrative arc of harassment. The archive now a weapon forged from months of pain, ready to unleash. As November winds howled, Jake uploaded a teaser video to a private channel, the first ripples of virality lapping at Sunset Meadows shores, setting the stage for a digital deluge that would drown Karen's reign in truth's unrelenting tide. The independent review panel convened in a rented conference room downtown, a neutral ground far from Sunset Meadows' watchful eyes, where Jake Ellison arrived with his binder and laptop, heart racing like a drumbeat in the sterile hush. The three panelists, a lawyer, a mediator, and a community relations expert, sat stone-faced behind a long table, their notebooks open as Jake synced his presentation, the air thick with the scent of fresh coffee and unspoken stakes. Karen Langley entered separately, her usual poise frayed at the edges, accompanied by a nervous board rep, her eyes darting to Jake's setup with a flicker of alarm that betrayed her crumbling confidence. Max waited at home with Mrs. Ruiz, the golden retriever's absence a quiet void in Jake's chest, his loyalty the emotional core fueling this stand. Months of harassment now distilled into a digital arsenal ready for unveiling. Jake's presentation unfolded with clinical precision laced with raw vulnerability, screens flickering to life with timelines mapping the 40 complaints against Max's innocent routines, videos of gentle walks debunking aggression claims, audio logs exposing Karen's fabricated timestamps, witness statements from Mrs. Ruiz and others painting a portrait of targeted torment. Emotions swelled as he narrated the toll, his voice cracking when describing Max's subdued spirit, the dog's once vibrant bark silenced by fear, tears welling at the injustice of a companion reduced to a target. The panel leaning forward, one member nodding empathetically as the evidence dismantled Karen's narrative brick by brick. She countered feebly, her testimony a defensive barrage of concerns for community standards. But cracks showed, stammers under questioning about her surveillance habits, admissions of overzealous reporting that rang hollow against Jake's irrefutable proof, her face flushing with the dawning realization of exposure. The online momentum surged in tandem, Jake's teaser video leaking to public platforms overnight, shared by the local blogger with a headline screaming, "HOA Tyrant's Dog Obsession Exposed." Views climbing into the thousands as commenters flooded with outrage and support. Donations poured in via the tip jar, surpassing legal costs and funding a professional editor for the full compilation, Stranger's Messages. Hang in there, your pup deserves better. Warming Jake's weary nights as he fielded interview requests from podcasters. The digital wave a euphoric rush tempered by anxiety over backlash. Karen's smear emails backfired spectacularly, screenshots circulating on social media, her allies distancing themselves as the thread exploded, viral TikToks reenacting complaints with exaggerated flair drawing millions, turning Sunset Meadows into a punchline and Jake's archive into a beacon for similar victims. Back in the neighborhood, alliances solidified under the growing spotlight, Mrs. Ruiz hosting a discreet watch party for the video's premiere, neighbors trickling in with snacks and stories of their own run-ins, laughter mingling with righteous anger as the footage played, bonds forming like roots intertwining against a common foe. Jake's freelance gigs revived with sympathetic clients, but the emotional scars lingered, sleepless hours worrying over Max's safety. The dog's tentative tail wags a fragile victory amid the storm. Karen retreated further, her car no longer idling as brazenly, whispers of bored resignations reaching Jake through the grapevine. Her isolation a poetic justice that stirred a complex pity in him, mingled with the fierce satisfaction of truth prevailing. The panel deliberated into the evening, the wait and agonizing stretch where Jake paced the hallway, phone buzzing with notifications of the video hitting 100,000 views. A local news van spotted outside his home. When they reconvened, the decision landed like a thunderclap. All complaints deemed baseless harassment, fines fully refunded with penalties levied on Karen for abusive process, a formal reprimand ordering her HOA privileges suspended. Relief crashed over Jake like a wave, tears streaming as he absorbed the win, hugging his binder like a lifeline. The validation a catharsis for months of pain. Reporters swarmed post-hearing, microphones thrusting forward. But Jake's mind raced to Max, the drive home a blur of elation and exhaustion. Yet, as the video crested viral status, Karen's desperate final gambit emerged. A countersuit alleging defamation. unaware that the digital deluge had already swept her reputation into irreversible ruins, priming the pump for a public reckoning that would echo far beyond the cul-de-sac. The countersuit from Karen Langley detonated across Sunset Meadows like a poorly timed firework, her defamation claim filed in a frantic bid to claw back control, alleging Jake Ellison's videos twisted her legitimate concerns into slander. Jake's home became a fortress of activity overnight, the viral video surging past 1 million views, comments exploding with memes of binoculars wielding Karens and golden retrievers as heroes. The digital roar a euphoric validation that buoyed his spirits even as anxiety gnawed at the edges. Reporters camped on his lawn, news crews from local stations to national talk shows clamoring for interviews, Jake's measured responses, framed around Max's innocence. Garnering sympathy, the dog's fluffy face now an internet sensation with fan art flooding his inbox. Max, oblivious to the fame, bounded through the yard with renewed vigor, his tail a golden blur that eased Jake's tension during hurried walks, though the emotional whiplash left him drained. Nights spent refreshing analytics while the retriever's snores offered quiet comfort. The viral fallout cascaded uncontrollably, TikTok challenges recreating complaint scenarios racking up billions of impressions, podcasters inviting Jake for deep dives into HOA horrors, donations swelling to fund not just his defense but community legal aid for similar cases. Mrs. Ruiz's watch parties evolved into neighborhood support groups, residents sharing their suppressed stories, fines for bird feeders, ignored noise from Karen's own gatherings, the collective outrage forging unbreakable bonds, laughter and tears mingling as they toasted Max with dog treats under string lights. Jake's freelance career skyrocketed, clients approaching with Max-inspired projects, but the human cost lingered. Anonymous threats from Karen's dwindling allies scratched on his door, stirring a flicker of fear that he quelled by expanding the archive with fan-submitted evidence of her past tyrannies. Karen's reputation crumbled in real time, social media doxing her selective enforcements, former friends unfollowing en masse. Her once pristine social feeds a graveyard of deleted posts and mocking replies. The countersuit hearing unfolded in a packed courtroom, the judge's bench overlooking a gallery buzzing with supporters, Jake entering with Elena, his attorney from the Review, binder updated with fresh viral metrics as ammunition. Karen arrived disheveled, her lawyer a harried figure dwarfed by the opposition, her eyes red-rimmed with the isolation of her unraveling world, the countersuit a desperate grasp that exposed her vulnerability beneath the armor of authority. Jake's testimony resonated with unfiltered emotion, screens replaying key clips, the fabricated complaints juxtaposed against Max's gentle play, his voice breaking as he described the harassment's toll on their bond. The dog's unwavering loyalty a poignant counterpoint to Karen's obsession, tears drawing empathetic murmurs from the crowd. Expert witnesses dismantled her claim. A digital forensics analyst tracing her surveillance logs to privacy violations. A psychologist framing the 40 complaints as targeted bullying, each revelation peeling back layers of her facade. Her cross-examination a stuttered retreat under relentless questioning. Karen took the stand in a bid for sympathy, her narrative fracturing into admissions of misguided zeal. Tears streaming as she blamed stress from her own life. But the viral context sealed her fate. Screenshots of mocking trends projected, public opinions tied, turning her words to dust. The judge's deliberations stretched into the afternoon, the hallway a frenzy of live streams and chants of justice for Max. Jake pacing with Mrs. Ruiz's steadying hand on his shoulder, his heart pounding with the weight of exposure's double edge, vindication laced with sorrow for the human wreckage. The ruling came swift and scathing. Countersuit dismissed as frivolous, Karen ordered to pay Jake's full legal fees plus sanctions for malicious prosecution, a permanent restraining order barring her from HOA involvement or neighborhood contact. The decision applauded thunderously, Jake's relief crashing like a wave, embracing Elena as sobs of release escaped. In the weeks that followed, Sunset Meadows bloomed with reform. A new board elected on transparency platforms, residents adopting pets without fear, Max leading pack walks as the unofficial mascot. Karen vanished from the cul-de-sac, her home listed for sale amid whispers of relocation, her reputation a cautionary tale rippling through online forums. Jake channeled the fame into advocacy, launching a site for harassment victims, Max's photo front and center, the dog's playful barks now a symbol of triumph. One crisp evening, as leaves swirled in the yard, Jake tossed a ball for Max under the setting sun. The retriever's joy infectious, his own heart light with gratitude for the archive that had turned torment into transformation. As winter approached, with snow dusting the fence, Jake reflected on the journey from isolation to icon. Max's head in his lap, a testament that loyalty, documented and shared, could silence even the loudest howls of hatred.